Well, hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Holy Donuts podcast. Great to have you with us today. And a huge shout out to our sponsors, WeGive. If you are looking for the best donor experience on the planet, you got to check out wegive.com. They actually have a fancy new thing where you can actually go sign up for your own account. Don't even have to go through a sales process just to see what the tool does. So go check them out, wegive.com. And moving to more important things. Today, I'm joined by Bryce Hillhouse. He is the Director of Development for Favor International. Bryce, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I think we're both scorching it out in West Texas and Tampa, respectively. It's a time of year where I just want to melt like a snowman and move somewhere like Canada. But we're gonna soldier through it today, man.
Of course. Yeah, no, I remember the humidity in Tampa. I don't have it anymore over here, but it's still kind of hot.
Yeah, yeah, it's a different beast, man. We were talking about that before we started recording it. You're originally from Tampa. That's where I'm at, home base here. So always great making those connections. Well, for folks who don't know anything about Favor International, could you just do us a quick favor? Kind of give us a rundown of the ministry, and then maybe talk a little bit about your story, your journey into working with Favor?
Yeah, no, of course. So Favor was originally started by our founder, Carol Ward, who saw a vision to, as she put it, she wanted to be sent where no one wanted to go. So she saw a need in Uganda, and she went out there and she wanted to minister to the people and do what she can to develop the communities and just bring new believers into the body of Christ.
Yeah,
And since then, she's grown that mission to not even just being in Uganda, but it's 8 countries in Africa. Most recently, we've started pushing into Chad and just doing what we can
yeah,
to connect people. But I mean, if we look on like a yearly basis, we're looking at about 100,000 salvations. We're
it's
building
amazing.
churches in each place.
Yeah,
We have women empowerment programs. We have what we call our gift program, where we focus on impoverished youth that are actually out in the streets,
yeah.
and we raise them up and we do what we can to put them in a right state, so that they can actually flourish in their own life with Christ.
That's amazing. That's so cool, man. It's just a holistic kind of gospel-centered development program,
Yeah, it's
right?
actually a wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful system. It's there's quite a bit of different nonprofits and NGOs that you see working in Africa,
yeah.
but this ministry in particular has an all-encompassing approach, and it doesn't just focus on any one thing. It focuses on striking at the heart of the issue and empowering the people.
That's amazing. So how did you find your way into working with Favor International? What's your story?
So all the way back, or just Favor?
Hey, you can go all the way back, man, because we love hearing kind of like the journey that God's taking you on.
Yes. So I originally grew up in South of Grandy, Port Tampa, Florida, and then from there I actually joined the army, got stationed in Fort Bliss, and when I was attending college, getting ready to graduate, I got a job offer for a development position at a local private high school that was a Christian ministry. And that's what started my initial approach into nonprofit work. And so this one in particular focused on underprivileged youth on both sides of the border. And then eventually from there, I started working in a gospel-based one. I was focused on, it was similar to the Gideons, but it focused on spreading the gospel of John. And that was called the Pocket Testament League. And they do wonderful work all across the world. And then from there, I got reached out to by Favor, and it's been wonderful ever since.
Yeah. And how long have you been with Favor now?
So I've been with Favor now probably just about 6 months. I'm fresh with
Awesome.
them, but it's been
That's the
amazing.
best.
And what
Yeah,
was
those
wonderful is it
ministries are
turned
great.
out that they're based over there by my home. They were probably about 25 minutes
Yeah.
from where my dad lives, and
Yeah.
the
That's
president actually goes to the church that initially saved me, which is the river.
that's amazing, man. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know the river. They're right up the road from us here. I live probably 15 minutes from that church and know it well, man. That's so cool. Yeah, it's so cool how God does just kind of full circle stuff like that
Yeah.
and works things out. Yeah. So, okay, so you've got several kind of ministries that you served under your belt now. Kind of have a good footing of the way you like to kind of work in helping these ministries raise funding to do really really important ministry. So for you, what are any strategies, tips, like techniques that you've kind of come across the way that you think are real game changers for ministries out there?
Yeah, I mean, I like to focus on more of like a putting together like a multi-channel campaign that
Hmm.
focuses on storytelling. Because if
Yeah,
you just focus on just just particularly data-driven insights, it'll get a little bit dry. But if you keep
Mhm.
storytelling at the core, I
Yeah,
think it really connects and resonates with people at a higher level. Because when you center on that, you focus on the communities that are positively impacted, and then you tell those stories. You can do it through various formats like video, written testimonial, photo essays. But
yeah,
if you ensure that each story is personalized and it'll resonate different
yeah,
segments of the donor base, I think it's really
yeah.
important if you focus on that.
Yeah, no, that's huge. How, in terms of like your donor base and maybe some of the ministries you serve, what channels do you like to get those stories out there? Right, it's one thing to tell a great story. You can totally dive in on that too, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But like, what channels do you use for distribution that you found are the most effective?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say for older crowds, you want to focus on direct mail, right? I
Yeah,
think that's a better approach. But the younger donors, I'd say social media is pretty huge in terms of the way it can impact.
yeah,
And then email is always quite effective across the board.
yeah,
Um, as long as you just maintain the consistent messaging and branding across each platform, you're going to ensure that you have like a unified, cohesive campaign.
yeah, absolutely. So, okay, let's talk storytelling. How do you all come up with stories that are, I mean, obviously God's doing the work, so you probably have a ton of them. So maybe it's more of curation. Like, how do you figure out, okay, this is the right story to tell? And are you thinking through the donor in that? Or are you thinking through just, no, no, this is just a great story? Can you just walk us through a little bit more of kind of you all storytelling process and how you get to those stories?
For us, we actually have a wonderful system where we get daily field updates of
Okay.
what's going on out there, and this is coming in from multiple countries, and then we curate the
Yeah.
stories to make sure we relay the story to the right donor, because some people are going to be focused more on the youth, whereas others are going to focus
Yeah.
more on women empowerment, and some are going to focus on community development. So you got to know
Yeah.
the right story to tell that'll actually resonate with the donor.
Well, hey there, Holy Donuts listeners. Ever feel like your nonprofit's donor experience is like a jelly filled donut with no jelly? Well, don't fret, we found the jelly to your donut dilemma. Enter WeGive, the software tool that's like the cream filling to your eclair, or should I say, the glaze to your donut. With WeGive, you're not just taking a donation, you're rolling out a red carpet for every person who gives to your organization. And with WeGive, you get an incredible donor portal, events, pledges, surveys, segmentation, on and on we could go on the features. And those checkouts, though, smoother than my attempt to make homemade donuts, which let's just say didn't quite rise to the occasion. See what I did there? With WeGive's innovative engagement tools, your donors won't just feel the love, they'll be coming back for second. Because nothing says thanks for your dough better than a world-class experience. So if you want to sprinkle some extra special magic on your donor relationships, check out wegive.com.
And so every day you're getting field updates. Is that just a form there, like your field staff is filling out? Is that an email they send? What's kind of the nuts and bolts mechanism? Like, how do they actually do that?
Yeah, I mean, it comes in with a photograph or a video, depending on the actual story
Okay.
itself, and then there's the context block that tells you the actual story that's going on there. Whether it's just if it's just an image, then you definitely need that part of it. Whereas a video, you
Yeah,
can pull it together from that. But I mean, if we
that's
talk
great.
about the delivery, what we found is quite effective and efficient is actually WhatsApp, which is
Okay.
you wouldn't you wouldn't assume that right off the
Yeah,
bat, but no,
it
WhatsApp
makes
is
sense
amazing.
though. Yeah.
And you can
Yeah,
you can
it's a
share
lightweight
files and all
tool.
sorts of stuff on there.
Yeah, it's such a lightweight tool for, I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's the best tool, the tool your team's going to use.
Yeah.
So if WhatsApp has all the functionality, it's like, of course, just drop them in there. You have one kind of thread or multiple threads, depending on different programs or different missionaries, or, they all have their own kind of channel, and just drop everything in there. That's the simplicity of it is what's genius about it. It just works, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look across kind of nonprofit landscape, are there trends that have you really excited and maybe some that have you concerned?
Yeah, I'd say so. Right now, what's exciting for me, at least, is probably one that others are going to find concerning, and I would say integrating artificial intelligence and machine learning programs into the marketing.
Yeah.
And I like to use it as sort of like a proofread, right? I put together a certain campaign design and then I run it through that, and then it'll add suggestions. And I find that quite effective because as people, we're going to make, some mistakes here and there. Whereas, incorporating artificial intelligence, it's gonna focus more on the logic of it.
Yeah. It's just a good backstop for your work, right? It's
Yeah,
not, you
yeah,
don't start with it, but it's good to have that extra set of eyes on it.
yeah. That's why. I mean,
Yeah,
that's why I
that
said I
totally makes
use it
sense.
like a proofread.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And then for something that's maybe a little less exciting, maybe a little more concerning, anything out there you're seeing from ministries that you're saying, don't love where that's headed for us?
I would say, you see it a lot lately. It seems to be like an over reliance on digital channels, and
Mhm.
almost to the expense of personal connections, right? And I think that is where a lot of nonprofits are going to make the mistake of not having that personal connection with the individual and keeping them,
Yeah,
because we saw it a lot with what happened with COVID, and I think people
Mhm.
got too reliant on that medium.
Yeah. So what are some things if someone's saying, yeah, we are pretty reliant on the digital channels? What are some ways that they can work into that? Because we have to have the digital.
Oh,
It's
of
not going to go
course.
away. What are some ways they can make their fundraising more relational and more personal, even if they say, yeah, we do a lot of digital? Any touch points that you all have with donors that you think would be helpful?
Honestly, like the most simple, go back to the basics. A personalized
Yeah.
letter sent to you,
Mm.
I think it adds an amazing touch. And outside of just an email, because sometimes you might get 1,000 emails a day, you're not going to read it, but you get that actual personal letter in the mail, you're going to open it up and you're going to see what it actually
Yeah.
says.
Yeah, it's a big difference. Getting that in real life kind of communication channel is still such a huge win, even though it's underrated now because everyone thinks, oh, that's so,
Yeah,
too early 2000s of you, right? But it's like, no, people still appreciate that. I know. I mean, unless it's something that's clearly junk mail, if it looks like it's personal to me, I open everything I get. So I'm gonna guess it's a little better open rate than my email inbox.
yeah. I mean, I can guarantee we both have tons of emails we haven't even looked at, and they're sitting there unread.
Yep, yep. Now that you remind me, I need to get to that after this
Yeah.
conversation. Um, cool, man. Well, okay. Any resources, books, magazines, podcasts that you love that, as you're kind of a leader and you're always kind of trying to grow, what are some of those resources you look to that you like to recommend to others as well?
Do you mean like books or programs?
Yeah, could be books, could be online courses, anything that kind of helps you grow and your fundraising knowledge, spiritual growth, leadership, any of that kind of stuff.
I mean, realistic. I can recommend some books like "The Art of Nonprofit Fundraising." It's by Doug White. I think
Yeah,
that's a pretty solid one.
yeah, yep,
Because it focuses on principles of effective fundraising. It
yeah,
focuses on ethics, donor relationships, practical strategies that can be applied across various types of nonprofits. I think that's a
yeah,
solid one. But in terms of just growing as a donor relations manager or director of development, anything in that field, I think the most important thing is going to be experience. Just actually
yeah.
going out there in the field, talking to
Doing the
people.
work.
Yeah, because you can read a book, you can watch a course, but it's not always going to work out the way that it's designed in the book or the course. The human
Yeah.
aspect changes that whole thing. So it's important to
Yeah.
be able to
And
relate to the
every
person you're talking to.
yeah, and every ministry is different, right? So what works in a book or a podcast or some article you read for another ministry may just not work for your ministry because of where
Yeah,
you are in the kind of growth life cycle or how your donors respond or the organizational culture. So I love that answer, man. It's just like, hey, the best thing to learn, go get your hands dirty. Go do the work, right? Go get out there and get punched in the face a little bit and learn
yeah.
from it
I
and
mean,
keep
because
moving
if you
forward.
just focus on what you saw here, it's a bit too rigid. It's too
Yeah.
structured,
Yeah.
and you're gonna look like
Absolutely.
a robot out there, and they're not gonna relate to you.
Yeah.
Because you're not
It's a
you're
great
not
word, man.
trying
It's a great word.
to make a personal connection if you do that.
I love it. Very cool, man. Okay, so if people want to connect with you, if they want to find more about Favor International, this is your shameless plug. Like, how can people get in contact with you if they have questions about what you guys are doing? How can they contact the ministry? Let
Yeah.
people know how they can connect with you
I
best.
mean, if they want to reach out to me, I'd say the best form is probably by email, and that's going to be my name, BRYCE at favorintl.org.
Cool.
That
Awesome.
that would be the best way to reach out to me.
Awesome. And then for the ministry, favorintl.org, is that the website?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, man, perfect. Thank you so much for dropping the knowledge bombs today. Thanks for taking the time just to pour your heart out about, hey, this is where God's got the ministry and kind of where you guys are going and what you guys are seeing for nonprofits out there. I really appreciate the time, Bryce.
Yeah, no, of course. No, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be able to come on here, especially with someone in my hometown.
Absolutely, man. All right. Be well, Bryce. Thank you.